It's just about 2 o'clock, so we can get going with our little talk.
Oh, also, because Mike and I are volunteers here, we don't get paid to do this. If you'd like to see more upcoming events with things to do for your kids and such, feel free to donate to our piggy bank over there. Your kids can feed the pig money.
Yeah, there's a pig over there. It's pink.
Yeah. So this is how to go plant-based in just 14 days. I didn't say vegan because we're only going to talk about the food. And going vegan is more of an ethical choice. I do recommend that you do it, but that also involves not just the food, but also to stop buying leather, wool, silk, any feathers, any animal products. You've got to get rid of your leather handbags. There's a lot more work to it involved. So just for this short course, we're going to focus on the food.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, so many people come up to our tent saying, how do I do this? I heard some good benefits. I want some of those benefits, but how do I do this? Because nobody ever told me this growing up, and probably the most people I hang around with are not plant-based either. So how do I do it?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to it. We'll start with baby steps. So on day one, just clean out all of the animal products out of your refrigerator, cupboards, and pantry.
Everything?
Well, you don't have to get rid of it all at once. If you already have food at home, just stop buying animal products on day one.
What the reality is, yeah, if it's in your house or whatever place you call home, you're going to eat it. Yeah. So it better not be animal products if you're trying to go plant-based.
Well, if you're trying to go completely vegan overnight, then yeah, you want to get rid of all those products. But we're suggesting to take baby steps. Use up what you already have open in your house over the next 14 days, or consider donating it to your friends or family. So if you have any food that's unopened, you can donate it to local food banks or shelters, or you can also give that to friends or relatives.
Yeah, there's always people that are willing to take that.
Yes. So when you start to go food shopping again, make a list of what you need, and you can veganize all of your favorite dishes by substituting dairy-free and plant-based alternatives.
So you don't even need a separate or new recipe book, is what you're telling me.
Right.
We just, like if something requires cheese, you just use the plant-based cheese. If something requires meat, you use the plant-based meat. If something requires milk, you use the plant-based milk. The ice cream, same thing.
Yep.
Are there dishes that you make with ice cream? I don't even know.
Yeah, but that's stuff with the coffee in it. Yeah, so focus on the produce aisle. This makes your shopping easier because fruits and veggies can, and they do, make an entire meal. Mike and I eat all raw produce all the time.
Well, we do, I say breakfast and most of lunch.
Yeah, they call that high raw. Oftentimes we'll have a cooked meal or cooked snacks.
So we're not eating bacon and eggs for breakfast?
No, never.
We usually eat pineapples, actually, is what we usually eat, if you're wondering, because we want to hydrate first thing in the morning, and that's a really watery fruit.
Yes. So instead of focusing on the grocery store, also consider going to a local farmer's market and stock up weekly on things. And I know here in Raleigh, they have one of those farmers co-ops where you can get a whole box of produce every week, and it's a different variety depending on the season. Consider making that the focus of where you get your food instead of the grocery store.
Yeah, it's actually the things with one ingredient are the best for you. In other words, they don't have an ingredient list.
Yeah, and Mike and I food shop a lot for organic produce, and it's hard to find.
But vote with your dollar, because the more you buy organic produce, the more you're going to find it and the less it's going to cost.
Yeah, and the reason we shop organic is because that means you're not going to get up to 2,000 different chemicals and pesticides and herbicides sprayed all over your food. Those are cancer causing.
But if you're just trying to go plant-based, don't worry about that for right now.
Yeah.
Just be glad you're buying produce and you're not buying animal products.
Yeah. So, how to veganize your recipes. If you have a recipe that calls for eggs, you just replace one large egg with a quarter cup of just egg. And that's just one example. There are other egg replacers too.
Yeah, there's substitutes for everything. Like when I first went plant-based in 2014, this stuff didn't exist. The only thing that was on there was tofurkey, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was the only thing I could get at the grocery store.
Yeah, so I mentioned just egg because it's right there in the refrigerator aisle next to the eggs. So it's super easy to find when you're shopping. So it's really good with scrambled eggs too. You can put it in your recipes, but you can also make egg scramblers out of this, and they're delicious.
What about getting your land back so we continue to grow it? He said we need the land back. A lot of people, he said a lot of people, they still have the land to grow the stuff. There be more stuff, but they're too much around their land use, so they can't grow the fresh fruit on their land.
Yeah, well, we talk about having moving into communities where you can purchase land closer to the equator where you can grow year round for a really low price.
Yeah, but this is just basic stuff we're talking about here. We're just talking about trying to go plant-based. So, how to veganize a recipe that calls for milk. You replace cow's milk with the same quantity of your favorite plant milk from the stores, like we talked about earlier. Or you can make your own plant-based milk with a machine called the Soya Joy, which we use. It's actually a lot less expensive too. If you're concerned about the cost, just make your own plant milk at home. You can't do that with the cow's milk, right? Yeah, but you can do that with the plant milk.
So we bought a Soya Joy from Macy's, or you can get them on Amazon too. They're about $60. And then you can make your own milk with just water. We use filtered water or
any kind of water you can use. We use distilled water. However, don't worry. If you're just trying to go plant-based, all I got to do is pick up the plant milk at the grocery store instead of the cow's milk, or I can make my own if I want to save a ton of money.
Yeah, and also the plant milk that you can make at home is a lot healthier. It doesn't have the added oil, sugar, or salt. So the plant milk that we make soy milk for about 13 cents worth of soybeans. And Mike, we have the entire hour, right? So we don't have to rush.
We do. Yep. We want to make sure that you guys don't get lost in any of these steps. If you have any questions along the way, please let us know. Yeah. I know there's always challenges with trying to go plant-based. Anytime you try to do something that goes against what almost everyone else is doing, it's difficult, especially if you were raised for like decades of your life in a whole other paradigm and you're trying to shift over to this one.
Yeah. So this slideshow was designed to be a 30-minute presentation, so we're just giving you a few extra details because we have the time. So how to veganize a recipe that calls for butter. You just replace butter or margarine with the same quantity of your favorite plant-based butter. So this one is, I can't believe it's not butter. It's been out for a long time, and it's vegan.
It's vegan?
Yep, it says vegan certified right on the label.
I wonder if it's always been vegan or if maybe they just came out with a version. I don't know. Because, yeah, it's been around since like the late 80s, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, maybe they've changed the recipe for the it's vegan version. Or consider omitting the butter from your recipe altogether. Some recipes don't even need them. Cookies probably still need something, but not every recipe really needs the butter. So, how to veganize a recipe that calls for cheese. Now, this is something I hear from my non-vegan friends all the time. I could never give up cheese.
What about cheese?
Well, now there's vegan cheese, and it's all over the place.
And it's all you can buy food right here today that has vegan cheese all over it, right?
Yeah. Our pizza had some vegan cheese. We had vegan mac and cheese. A couple of vendors here. This one
and vegan pizza here today with vegan cheese.
Yeah, so Follow Your Heart has prepackaged cheese that looks just like the traditional Kraft singles. So you can put this right on your
Do you use it the same way?
Sandwich.
Exactly the same way?
Yeah, it doesn't quite melt the same, but it tastes the same. So this is a smoked Gouda. Even at Walmart, you can get this mozzarella and cheddar blend that would go great just on your pizza. Just shake it on there.
Yeah, you know that this whole thing has gone mainstream when Walmart has their own great value brand of plant-based cheese.
Yeah, and we found that if you go to a pizza shop and they don't have vegan cheese and you ask for it, they're going to look at what's in your hands. They're going to see if you brought your own. So
we were asked that the other day.
Yeah.
We're like, do you have this with vegan cheese? And they're like, no. And they asked us, like, did you bring your own cheese?
Yeah, it was Nancy's Pizza. And
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it was Nancy's right here in Raleigh, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so they'll let you bring your own cheese. That was for one of those Chicago-style deep dish pizzas, and
those aren't cheap. That's like an anniversary dinner.
Yeah, it was expensive, but you know how deep dish pizzas are usually full of cheese, like an inch thick of molten cheese. So if you want to try it, just bring your own. They will probably throw it in the oven for you. So usually it's the same quantity of cheese, 1 for 1. or you can check the recipe, see if you can omit it, or you can make your own. Like on our website at plantbaseddiet.org, under healthy recipes, you can find a low-fat vegan mac and cheese recipe that just requires a blender, some soy milk, and a couple of other spices and things.
Yeah, and remember, there's different levels to this whole plant-based thing. We're just kind of touching right now on the basic level, which is just like, okay, let's just successfully transition from eating animal products to just doing everything totally plant-based. But there are different levels. Like Denise said, some are better for you, some are worse. But at least for the beginning, just do what you can do as opposed to not doing it.
Yes.
Just do it.
Yeah, we call these transitional products. So you can veganize a recipe that calls for mayo, just replacing your mayo with the same quantity of your plant-based mayo. This veganase has been around for decades. I see it on restaurant menus.
The follow your heart stuff?
Yeah, follow your heart.
And Hellman's, that has not been around for decades.
No.
Well, not vegan version anyway.
Hellman's jumped on the bandwagon, probably to protect their shareholders, and they have a vegan dressing now too. I think they have a, yeah.
I think everybody is going to have a plant-based something in the near future if they want to remain in business.
Yeah, because the future is plant-based.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire food industry, the entire restaurant industry. If you go into a restaurant and they don't have a plant-based dish, you can put them in touch with us, but I have a feeling they're not going to be around that much longer. You got to have at least a couple plant-based options at every restaurant.
Yes, definitely. So how to veganize a recipe that calls for sour cream. Kite Hill has sour cream. I think Follow Your Heart does too. And you just replace your dairy with the same quantity of the sour cream. This makes good chip dip recipes, just like every other chip dip.
And we looked for this in some grocery stores like a week ago, and they're all sold out. You know what? Yeah. We found out that they had the Philadelphia brand cream cheese, the animal product version. They had plenty of stock of that, but they didn't have any of the plant-based Philadelphia cream cheese. It was all gone.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
That just tells you where people are headed. It tells you where the industry's headed, and that's why we're here, because we're telling you this is the future. And if Philadelphia is sold out of plant-based cream cheese and no one wants the animal product version, you know that things are moving along pretty rapidly.
Yes. So how to veganize a recipe that calls for meat. I put all the meat alternatives on one slide because Mike and I usually don't eat these. We just rather eat veggies than faux meat.
Yeah, I was never. I'm a weirdo though. I kind of stopped eating meat on my own when I was younger because I thought it was gross. So I don't want the plant-based version. But most people are going to want to and need to transition by eating something that's very similar to what they're used to eating. And that's the value in these products right here. We've got a lot of them here today. A lot of different food vendors have, like if you see meat on their menu, it's not real animal meat, right? Yeah. It's the plant-based version. And there's so many different versions of these things. You can buy the Impossible meat. You can buy the Beyond Burger. You can buy, like a lot of restaurants have their own house-made things. A lot of the people here today, the food vendors, may have their own house-made. You just ask them, say, what is it made of? Just if you're curious. You may have a preference. I don't know. I don't know enough about all the different plate ones because I don't usually eat it. Yeah. but I'm glad that they're there.
The Alkaline food truck has about 3 different sandwiches that look like a burger or a chicken sandwich over there. Haven't tried them yet, but they look delicious.
Yeah, so just know that we have all the stuff here. If you're listening to this and you're curious and you want to move over, just go sample some more of the foods here. Of course, you have to pay, but it's worth it because you got all these different foods in one place, all these different chefs who are making this food in one place. You can kind of go back and forth and see what you like, ask them questions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was never a heavy meat eater, but when I heard at a PETA conference that there's no humane way to kill an animal that doesn't want to die, it really struck with me. No animal wants to die, so he can become your dinner. It's wrong, and they suffer a lot when they go through this.
Yeah, actually, we made a video here. You may have seen a little promotional video for Raleigh Veg Fest. The last 3 days, we've been out 3 days in a row, picking strawberries at the You Pick Farms. And I didn't feel any suffering there with the plant when I was yanking that strawberry and tearing it away from the plant. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like the plant was feeling bad. In fact, the reality is most plants, when you pull off fruit like that, that's going to encourage them to produce more fruit.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you harm an animal and you put it out of its misery or whatever you want to call it, that animal's not coming back. It's
No.
done. Okay, you got to think about this from an efficient standpoint and nobody gets hurt standpoint, and that's why we feel like this stuff's valuable. This faux meat, this plant-based meat, no matter what, it's definitely valuable and serves a purpose because it gets you to think about this. And like I said, if you don't believe me, go out to the strawberry field, pick strawberries, and then go to somewhere where they produce this actual animal meat and see what happens to those animals. I don't think you'll ever want to go back there, but I want to go back and pick strawberries again now.
If you saw what happened in a slaughterhouse, you wouldn't want to eat meat anymore. So Impossible has burgers and sausage now. They packaged it a little differently. But instead of eating meat, we recommend jackfruit because it tastes a lot like pulled pork. You can mix it with barbecue.
It's identical.
Sauce.
If you don't tell somebody that you're making jackfruit barbecue and you just hand it to them and they eat it, they're not going to know.
They're going to think it's a pulled pork.
And that's not even a processed food product. That's actual whole jackfruit slathered in barbecue sauce, right?
Yeah. So there's no cholesterol in there. So there's bacon alternatives, veggie burgers that are not from Impossible. They make them out of tofu too, so a little healthier. So there's a ton of meat alternatives. So day 3, dining out. This is where people struggle the most, I think. We use the Happy Cow app, or what you can do is just use your phone to look at any map and just type in vegan restaurant. And if the restaurant has a vegan item on their menu, usually it'll come up in your search.
Let me give a cheat sheet here, a cheat code, a hack, or whatever for Raleigh. We also run a group called vegantriangle.org. That's vegantriangle.org. It's between 3,000 and 4,000 people on that group. Go in and ask about certain restaurants that you want in certain areas. Just ask people in the group, and they will tell you. The other thing is we also run, believe it or not, the trianglefoodies.org group. If you remember that, you may be. There's like 25,000 people in that group, trianglefoodies.org. And feel free to go in and ask all your plant-based questions. There will be no heckling. I'll make sure of it.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Something went off. All right, you keep talking. I'll figure out what's going on.
Okay. So when we dine out, we're not going to a totally vegan restaurant. Sometimes if it's a smaller restaurant, we just ask the chef if he could make us something special. And we've had chefs make us veggie wraps, and they'll get to use their creativity. They'll put some fries on the side. So that's how we have some of our most delicious stuff. Or even if we go to P.F. Chang's, they do have clearly marked vegan items on the menu, but we spoke to the waiter who spoke to the chef anyway, and he created us this totally really creative dish that was really delicious. So that's another trick.
Yeah, that's. Did you say mom and pops?
Yeah, mom and pop.
Yeah, mom and pops are great. They're like whenever you're traveling to. I remember one time we went out to, what was it, Nevada in the desert somewhere.
Yeah.
And there was this real mom and pop. I mean, it was owned by like. It was a section of a grocery store where they had a restaurant, and it was just owned by this one woman, right? And she made us this incredible meal, and we were the only ones there, actually. It was way out in the middle of nowhere.
She even went over to the store, which was adjacent to the kitchen, and asked us what kind of noodles we would like in our dish.
Yeah, so as long as you're in the right environment with a restaurant, just if they want to challenge it, even the restaurant people get tired of cooking the same thing day in, day out, right? I mean, I would think so. Give them a challenge if you feel like the circumstances are right.
Yeah. And if they're not right, you can always ask to substitute the meat for something else, like some extra sauce or some veggies. Or sometimes if we're getting like a chicken salad without the chicken, we'll just ask for a discount since we had no chicken.
Have we ever gotten a discount?
We have a couple of times.
We have?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't ask. I guess you did.
Yeah, I've asked. So it's not easy. Yeah, we dine out a lot, at least a couple of nights a week. You can follow us on our YouTube channel to see where all.
Yeah, actually go to plantbasedvideos.info. That's plantbasedvideos.info, and we just travel all the time, so we know what we're talking about eating out. And that's like one of the most difficult things, because if you're always cooking your own food in your own house, it's not that difficult. But when you go out all the time, it's very tempting for one thing, right? And then you got to be real particular, very particular.
Yeah. So here's a challenge: dining at gatherings. It helps to tell the host or hostess ahead of time that you have dietary restrictions. So maybe she'll have a meat-free alternative on the table, dairy-free. You can offer to bring your own dish, or if it's Thanksgiving, you can bring your own turkey alternative. And this wall has all these different turkey items.
I got another suggestion. How about pre-eating?
Yes, we do that too. Not as much fun, but yeah. So also, when you bring a dish, don't even mention that it's plant-based. See this birthday cake we bought from my mom?
That looks very, very full of dairy.
Yeah, it looks like a regular birthday cake. If I wouldn't have told anyone, I don't think they even would have guessed that this was a vegan cake.
It didn't taste any different than any cake I have ever had growing up, and I'm 53.
Yeah, it was delicious. So dining at weddings. Most RSVP cards now ask about dietary restrictions. You can check the vegetarian box and just make a note on the side that you're vegan, and you'll probably have something there. If the wedding is buffet style, just ask the staff which items are vegan. We went to a wedding in Hawaii just recently, and the only vegan item on the buffet was the potatoes.
It was roasted potatoes. They had a couple other items on the buffet, but upon further questioning by me, it was determined for sure that there was dairy in those items.
Yeah.
Hidden dairy will get you. So I had 2 or 3 giant plates of roasted potatoes, and I got a couple stares. And people were like, man, that's dedication or whatever. But, you know, for me, it's not really, I just don't want to get, I want to be off the animal products. I want to be as healthy as possible and not be sick. So that's the motivation for me. And I'll take a few hecklers at a wedding or whatever, you know, if that's what it takes.
We had 2 or 3 servings of roasted potatoes. So, yeah, if you're a vegan and you're having a wedding, we went to the Sanibel Sprout in Florida, where this is an all-vegan restaurant.
That was us, yeah. It was not hard at an all-vegan restaurant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I would do if I had like a 500 family person wedding.
Speaking of restaurants, I want to mention something. Yeah, not just about weddings, but restaurants in general. If the place that you go to is not a totally plant-based or totally vegan restaurant, just so you know, you're probably going to be dealing with cross-contamination if that's an issue for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a good way to transition, actually, by not going to an all plant-based restaurant and having that, because it's going to have some familiar taste or whatever because of the cross-contamination, meaning basically they're going to cook some of the animal product food along with your plant-based food. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's not really much of a way to avoid that when you're dealing with a restaurant that's not totally plant-based or totally vegan.
Right. Okay. Dining with a non-vegan in the family. If you're the mom, you're doing most of the cooking, you're probably thinking you're going to have to prepare separate meals. But you can minimize the cooking by sharing some of the side dishes. Like salads, go with any entree. Baked potatoes, go with anything. A side of spaghetti and marinara, that's always been plant-based, and you can do that as a side too. And soup goes with a lot of entrees that are easily veganized. So split pea, potato, veggie soup, a lot of those have already been vegan.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, because this is 2023, you guys have it a lot of conveniences. The biggest is that you don't need a special cookbook if you cook your own food.
Yeah.
Just substitute any of those dairy, cheese, sour cream, ice cream, meat, whatever it is, with the plant-based version that's at your local grocery store already.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Okay, dining at work. Luckily, I work for a large company that has a big kitchen that already has clearly labeled vegan items. But I know if I still worked for a smaller organization, I would probably pack a lunch. And if the company is sponsoring a meal or a cake for someone's retirement party or shower or something like that, I would ask them to have vegan options. Like I see breakfast served at my company all the time with like
I see it too.
Sausage.
Well, you're working remote right now, and I'm like, man, it's a good thing you're not in the office because I see what they're eating there at these office gatherings.
Yeah, but they usually have a little side of fruit somewhere for people.
Well,
like
that's if you have the willpower to only eat the fruit and not sample the other stuff.
Yeah.
That's part of this transition, though, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. So if you're having lunch at a table with your coworkers, they're probably gonna ask to trade food like they do at in
try this. Hey, I made it special for you. You gotta try it. You gotta try it. What if you're trying to go totally plant-based? What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you say?
Just politely decline, because I'm gonna talk about that in another slide. How to tell people that you're changing your diet, and the table is not the best place to tell them.
You tell them ahead of time.
Tell them someplace where you're not going to make them feel embarrassed or ashamed about what they're eating in front of all their coworkers.
So like somewhere where they're not surprised and they don't have to have an unpleasant reaction, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here I am telling Dr. Campbell how much I liked his book. Use an iMessage. So say something like, I read the China study and I saw the correlation between casein, the protein in milk, and cheese and cancer. So you might get their attention there. You might be able to talk them into reading the China study.
And let me clarify, Denise is not talking about iMessage on your iPhone. She's talking about discussing it from your point of view. Don't say you, say I.
Yeah, or I feel bad hurting animals. That'll get them thinking.
I am an animal lover. Who is not an animal lover? You're not an animal lover? Do you like animals? Well, you still like animals. Okay, so you don't want to hurt animals on purpose. No, see, there you go. Nobody wants to hurt animals on purpose.
Or you can say vegan diets tend to have far lower carbon, water, and ecological footprints than those of meat or fish eaters, and I feel bad hurting the planet. Another good one.
So these are like good one-liners to have, right?
Yes, keep these in your back pocket.
How do you think I handled that person walking by here?
I miss it. He said he was an animal lover.
Well, no,
right?
he said he's not an animal lover, but I said, do you like animals? He's like, oh, I don't know. And I said, you don't want to hurt them, right? He's like, no, I don't want to hurt them.
Yeah. Okay.
Nobody wants to inflict harm on somebody else. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I get tired of eating out of the produce aisle every day. Mike will never get tired of it.
I'll get no. Actually, let's put it this way. You guys don't know me. I'm 53, and I'm like the most hypersensitive person you'll meet. If I stray from an optimal health diet, I start to pay for it immediately. And Denise can definitely verify that, right?
Yes. He starts to have all kinds of bad side effects. He gets lethargic and he starts trying to burp everything back up and he doesn't feel well. So to make your food more interesting, use lots of color and add spices.
Yeah, color.
Add spices instead of salt or oil. It's way better for you. And we tend to explore the different ethnic cuisines. This is some injera, some Ethiopian food over on the lower right. That food truck down at the end of the sidewalk has African cuisine. You'll find injera dishes there. And up on the top, this is all Indian food. We love
so please, while we're on the subject of food, don't forget to go get some more food. You know why? Because it's getting close to dinner time now. And you're going to need to get something anyway, so you might as well sample some more plant-based food while you're here to convince yourself that this stuff actually does taste good.
Yeah, so the event's over at 3, and after the lines die down, these food trucks are going to zoom away.
Yeah, so don't let them get away. Get in line.
Yeah. So this Indian food up at the top, we've actually talked some Indian restaurants into doing buffets with us, and we even had them take out the oil and salt, so you could eat even more.
Yes, but for a beginner, don't worry, because basically, well, if you go to an Indian restaurant, what's the number one word you got to remember if you go to an Indian restaurant? Ghee.
Oh,
you have to tell them no ghee in there and no animal products. Sometimes they forget that ghee is an animal product.
Yeah, it's clarified butter.
Yeah, so you just and you get any Indian restaurant can do that for you, but just make sure you're very specific.
Yes. So day 9, plant-based foods for kids. So again, use lots of color. Most kids already love fruit.
Who are those big kids in the lower left-hand corner?
That's Mike and I. We were up in Canada. We were having some plant-based ice cream. It was really good, or maybe it was gelato. I don't know, but it was vegan and it was delicious. I think I have mango. Mike had strawberry. You can make birthday cake vegan. Just leave out the eggs and milk. You can replace all of that with a can of Sprite, actually. It's the easiest birthday cake ever. Just take the whole cake mix and a can of Sprite.
The whole cake mix and a can of Sprite. Well, I'm lost.
And you bake it.
You bake it? What do you mean?
Open up your box of cake mix.
Yes.
Put it in a bowl.
Yes.
Open up a can of Sprite.
Yes.
Dump it in there.
Why are you doing that?
Stir it and bake it. All you need. You don't need eggs and milk to make a cake.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
I've never heard of
It's a Sprite cake recipe. You don't even have to write it down. It's so easy. So Those acai berry bowls are vegan as long as they don't put honey on them. And that green truck over there, the one that says berries, they have acai bowls. You should try
Berries,
it.
yes.
Yeah, if you've never had an acai bowl, try it. They make a great breakfast.
Some more sampling of plant-based foods, which is what you need. You need to get more and more so you're familiar with this stuff.
Yeah. So olives are already vegan, and who didn't love putting olives on your fingers when you were a kid and just eating those? So you can make their life fun. So fruit, pizza. If you just omit the cheese, or you can bring your own cheese to the pizza joint. Most kids love pizza. A lot of waffles are already vegan, not the Eggo ones, but the store brand waffles.
Yeah, Denise, she's talking about like accidentally vegan. Are you guys familiar with that term? Accidentally, they weren't designed to be vegan on purpose, but they just don't have any animal products in them. And like Denise said, you have to go look on the back actually and read the ingredients. But there's a lot of foods out there that are like that. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, if milk is an ingredient, it's usually listed in bold print at the bottom because so many people have dairy allergies. So it's easy just to scan the bottom of the ingredient list and see if it's vegan or not. Look for milk or eggs. So these Dr. Prager foods are already vegan for kids, most of them. And it's really easy to make a kid a grilled cheese sandwich. I went over
Is
the
that
cheese.
a grilled cheese sandwich with macaroni and cheese inside?
That one is.
That's what it looks like.
That's from a restaurant that
And that's
we went
plant-based
to.
too. That's what you're eating if you're eating plant-based.
Yeah, this was a crunch mac, I think they called it. This was from a restaurant that we went to up in Boston. So kids are not all that hard to please. So plant-based on vacation.
This is us.
Yeah.
We know all about this stuff. Like I said, I feel like staying at home is easy as long as you can clear your house out, clear your refrigerator and pantry out, like Denise said in the first step. Okay,
Yeah.
but when you start to venture out in the world and you're out for an extended period of time, that's when the problems set in.
Yes. So plant-based cruises are already available, like with the Holistic Holiday at Sea on the MSC Divina. Mike and I were planning our own cruise recently. It has some challenges. A lot of airlines already offer vegan meals. I think there are 4 of them last time I searched. You can just search it. And just use your dining out skills that we went over on day 3. When we went to Oktoberfest, we thought there wasn't going to be anything vegan there for us, but those pretzels didn't have butter on them, and most of the beer was vegan. We went to Paris. I used Happy Cow. Same thing in London. There were at least 50 different restaurants in London and Paris that we could go to.
Yeah, and it's so much easier than it used to be also. It required a lot more investigation in just the recent past, really. It's nowadays, you just be glad that you're living in 2023.
Yeah. This is Chicago's. Gino's East has deep dish Chicago pizza with vegan cheese. It was delicious. Las Vegas, we found a Nacho Daddy taco place that was right around the corner from our hotel that had all vegan food. And let's see, we do a lot of hiking and stuff. Oh, and Hawaii too. That was more challenging because Hawaii is very meat-centric.
Except for the pineapples.
Yeah.
If you like pineapples, that's what you eat. I came back home from the market with a backpack full of pineapples.
Yeah,
The
pineapple stems were sticking out of the top of his backpack. He looked like a tree in disguise.
And they were all yellow too. You know what I'm talking about. If you try to get pineapples at the grocery store, most of them are green around here because they pick up before they're ripe. In Hawaii, they just pick them and stick them right in the store, I guess. They just pick them and they're all yellow.
Yeah. So the Polynesian culture is meat-centric. There was a lot of pork at the buffet that we went to, but there were a lot of dishes that were labeled vegan too at the Polynesian Cultural Center.
Yeah, that's right. That was the special, like the tourist meal, right? Where you pay big bucks and all you can eat, and there's like a room the size of this more square, I'd say,
Yeah.
full of food.
Yeah, I think it was $60 a person.
Yeah, but I'd say probably 20% of it was vegan.
Yeah.
You know, you just gotta look around and ask the right questions.
Yeah, the vegan lines were the shortest lines too. There were lines of people, 20 people long, waiting for the meat. We just went right up and got our food. So day 11, how to respond to the question, where do you get your protein? We get so tired of hearing this. So all plants have protein. The real question is, where do you get your fiber? Because that's what the non-vegans are missing, and that's what's causing them gut health problems which could lead to emotional problems, problems with your immune system,
Yes.
everything.
So that's it. Where do you get your protein? Have you ever heard of anyone with a protein deficiency? Anyone? Anyone? It doesn't exist, okay?
There's no protein deficient wing at the hospitals.
And it's not because people aren't aware. You would know, okay? You would really, really know. But the real problem is, like Denise said, the fiber. Even if you don't know someone with a fiber deficiency, the reality is 95% of humans don't get enough fiber on a daily basis because they don't eat enough plants. That's it.
But there sure is a cardiology at the hospital, and the sad part is most of cardiology problems could be avoided by just avoiding meat and dairy. So, 12, dealing with cravings and old habits. So if you
old habits.
Yeah, old habits.
We know
hard.
there's nothing harder to change in your life than just one single habit. We know this. Okay,
Yeah.
This is why we need to be out here talking about this and normalizing everything. Because, like we talked about, I'm 53, Denise is 52. We were not taught any of this stuff growing up. So in order for us to do this, we have to change and go against everything we were told growing up.
Yeah, but like I said, you can veganize any recipe. This is cheesecake. You can make it vegan too. It's a little smoother than the real dairy cheesecake, but it's just as delicious. But if you fall off the wagon, get back on. It takes about 30 days for a new habit to set in.
Yeah, 30 solid days of doing it. For me, I'd say, how about cravings, Denise? Because it took a long time. The cravings, like, it's an old habit. You're used to doing something. I don't care if it's good or bad. You're going to want to go back. So your body or your taste buds or something's going to imagine you eating some food that's animal product that you're not supposed to be eating anymore. And how long does it take for that to go away?
A long time. I still crave sausage, egg, and cheese biscuits, but guess
Really?
what? You can make those plant-based.
Okay, because for me, I know for me, it was probably a couple of years. I want to try to tell you as straight as I can, a couple of years. But now, it's been like 9 years for me. I can walk by all the chicken places and the burger joints and whatever else and smell all those smells pouring out of there, and I'm more like disgusted by it. But I definitely don't want any of it anymore.
Yeah.
So, but just give it time. Just keep making the best choices you can and give it time.
Yep, give it time. So day 13, dealing with unsupportive people. Our best advice for that is just get some new friends. Join a local
Get new friends.
Yeah,
We have resources for that. VeganTriangle.org.
Yeah.
VeganTriangle.org. Go join that group.
It's right on our banner. Take a picture of our banner and then make some.
Go in there and say, hey, I need some vegan friends. Send me a friend request. That's all you gotta do. Just go do that.
You can look for a local meetup group and plan some potlucks, or you can move to a intentional community like we spoke about earlier, like Terra Frutis or Fruit Haven.
Yeah, the reality is you become like the 5 people you hang around with the most. If you're hanging out with 4 meat eaters and you're a plant-based, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you. Seriously, you may have incredible willpower, and if you do, then go ahead and do it. But the average person is not going to be able to do that. That's why these types of changes in society where everybody's going to go plant-based, which we know they will eventually, take time because you haven't reached that critical number of people. Maybe when we get to like 20, 25%, you'll start to see a massive quick change where everything switches over. But right now, it is difficult. That's why we have this course. That's why we're giving you this presentation right now.
Yeah. We met Brad here at a Veg Fest. We told him we were going to be there in Southwest Florida in Punta Gorda, and he showed up when we became friends. And that's his wife, Heather. We went on a cruise with them recently. And Heather was doing better than I was. She was ordering steamed veggies for breakfast. So she's a good influence on us.
Yep.
So lastly, day 14, there's nothing hard you have to do here. Just enjoy life, because at this time, after 14 days of going plant-based, you should have finished all your non-plant-based food in your house, and you should be feeling better because you're eating more whole plants. And if you eat less fatty food, you're probably going to have experienced some weight loss. Your cholesterol levels will drop. Your circulation will improve.
Yeah, by day 14, like Denise is saying, you're going to see benefits. Unless you just didn't do anything, you are going to see benefits, and that's going to motivate you to continue.
Yeah, so that meat in animal products has TAMO and heme iron in it, and it's inflammatory. and it's acidic. So if you're eating less of that, you're gonna experience less inflammation, and you'll just feel better all around.
So yeah, it's great. That's all we gotta say is if you are listening to this and you have not gone totally plant-based, what are you waiting for? Because unless you are in perfect health and I don't know somehow, well, you can't be that way. Let's put it that way. I know too much. Okay, it's only a matter of time till everybody does this. Why not just start now? Give it a try. What have you got to lose? You're only going to have benefits out of this thing.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, we're taking questions if you have any, and you know, we are just glad that you all are here. And like we've said earlier in the presentation, this is more than just a presentation. We're going to develop this into a course online so that you'll be able to take it online, and it'll be something that will hopefully help you to be more successful at transitioning over to being fully plant-based.
Yes. So the vendors will be around for at least another 20 minutes. So if you haven't made your rounds yet, go ahead and help yourself. The restrooms are right behind me.